What is up, Edison duelists? This is Dionysus, aka Young Puds, coming at you guys with some more shameless hypebeast GIGAVISE content. So we're just going to jump right into it, and let me tell you guys, I have a problem. I have actually been trying to play a little bit of hat format GIGAVISE. As you can see, we've got some very different cards going on in our opening hand, and my problem is my opponents, after I beat them in game one, they just leave. They're leaving, and we're not getting to play a full match. And this is really impacting my testing, and it's also impacting my ability to show it off to you guys. But I thought, well, it just happened once. Guess I can't use this replay. Then it happened again. Then it happened a third time, and I said, well, you know what? Maybe we can just make that the theme of today's opening entry into GIGAVISE in hat format. So let's start off in this first game. Our opponent has just gone ahead and set a Lindy and has a breakthrough skill and an abyss sphere. So a little bit of interaction, a decent mermail start. Let's see how we can handle it. We actually have a very good hand. I know this might look a little strange, but let me show you what we can do with a hand like this. We're going to start off by special summoning Junk Forward, which we can do because we have no monsters, and then we'll normal summon Mathematician. Our opponent is going to think on this, but he is going to go ahead and let the Mathematician through. That is going to get us to Lone Fire Blossom in our graveyard. And then we are going to Xyz summon Melee of the Trees. This is one of the most fantastic cards ever printed for GIGAVISE. When this was released in Shadow Specters, it really made the deck have potential again. And then in the following ban list, Lone Fire Blossom went back to 2, and then GIGAVISE was playable once again. And now this is hat format, so this is a little bit later after that, of course, but we do have some very powerful tools. We have one redox to use, we have nettles to use, we have Soul Charge. I don't know why I said nettles. We've always had nettles. We have Soul Charge now. We have Mathematician. So these are some cards that really boost our ceiling. So now we're going to go ahead and try and use Melee. But of course, our opponent is going to have the breakthrough skill to stop it. So we are going to continue playing through. We are going to go ahead and fire the Redox, discarding itself and nettles to bring back Lone Fire Blossom. Our opponent's going to let that through, so we are going to go ahead and summon out the Lone Fire. At this time, our opponent is going to go ahead and Abyss Sphere, which will let him summon Abyss Spike, which for cost, he can discard that heavy infantry, and that is going to allow him to destroy the Lone Fire Blossom. So we are a little behind now, but I do see that my opponent is completely out of resources. I forget that Abyss Sphere negates the effect of Abyss Spike. It's been a while, folks. Mermails, they were a deck for a long time, and I've played against them a lot, but not so much recently. Really cool deck. I understand they're good in the TCG right now as well. And then I decide, okay, we could try and Soul Charge right now, but I'm assuming this is a Lindy. I kind of just want to break through the Lindy, and then maybe on the following turn, I can go ahead and Soul Charge. I also want to kind of act like maybe I'm a little weak. We'll see. And then we are going to pass. So our opponent is going to go ahead and summon out a very big Abyss Lead, just a big, strong monster. Nothing wrong with that. He still has that dead Allure. I assume he wants to use Genix Undying to get Genix Controller and then allure it. But what he is going to be able to do is summon the Abysstius and get another Abyss Lindy. So he is going to go ahead and normal summon the Lindy, crash it into the Melee. We'll take 200, or he'll take 200, and then once he figures out how to send it to the graveyard, he'll activate its effect to get an Abyss Megalo on the field. So all the big Sea Serpent, big Mermails are in play. We're going to take a good bit of damage here. And then, even worse for us, is our opponent is going to be able to use that Abyss Lead to rip a card out of our hand. And now, fortunately for us, he does miss, and we still have the Soul Charge, and we still have 2,000 life points, at least. So we are going to go ahead and be able to use the Soul Charge. Drawing Spore there is actually really fantastic. So we've got the game state nice and simplified. Abyss Gaios is definitely a threat. He can use that to negate the effects of all face-up monsters we currently control, have less attack than it, which is going to be our entire deck. And of course, we don't have priority, so that can stop us from using Lone Fire. So we're going to think for a bit. First, I'm going to go ahead and use redox to summon out the redox. And then I am going to go ahead and fire the soul charge, paying 1,000 life points to summon out Lone Fire Blossom and Mathematician. Our opponent is going to think, and very wisely, he is going to go ahead and fire the Abyss Gaios, and that is going to turn off our Lone Fire Blossom. But we are now going to be able to bring out a Scrap Dragon, and we're just going to use Scrap Dragon to clear Abyss Gaios and Mathematician. I think Scrap Dragon is also one of like the biggest additions for GIGAVISE that really make a huge difference. Here our opponent is going to draw into Mooling Glacia, which is going to be no help. He has far more than 5 waters in hand. We are going to draw for turn, and we do find our way into a Dandelion. That's pretty good. So we are now going to just Lone Fire for Gigaplant, and then we are going to normal summon the Gigaplant, summon out Lone Fire back, and use that one to get a second Gigaplant. This list that I've been playing in hat format, actually it doesn't play Titanial. I think there's not quite enough targeting in hat for Titanial to be impactful in the same kind of way, and it also is just it's a big huge brick, and we're just trying to kind of lean down the deck. Maybe if Titanial was Earth, we could consider it with Redox, but it's not, so we're not playing it. So we win that game with a big push there, and then wouldn't you know it, our opponent just quits. It doesn't even give us a chance to play game number 2 or 3. So let's move on to this next match. Here our opponent has Blue Boy as the profile, so I am already assuming that they are going to be on spellbooks. We've opened a very fine hand. We have a Super Solar Nutrient target, so we are going to go ahead and start off with that. I'm going to Lone Fire for Gigaplant here. And now, you know, in Edison, I'm very clear exactly what I'm doing with my opening lines. I know all my options. Here in hat format, I'm ashamed to admit I still am just kind of freestyling. I'm just kind of messing around and just seeing what I can do. The ceiling is so much higher with cards like Spore, cards like Soul Charge, cards like Redox. All these cards are just, they're making it much more complicated. You have a lot more options. You can do a lot more things. So here I've made 1 Power Tool Dragon, and then 66% did round up to 100% for us. And so now I'm going to go ahead and make a Stardust Spark Dragon. This is one of the best cards for GIGAVISE. I think it's really good. If you side into Vanity's Emptiness, you can make Stardust Spark and then protect Vanity's Emptiness with it, so you can still use other cards. That's really good. And here I am just going to decide to pass on this board. Definitely not the strongest in the world. Definitely not the weakest either. You know, we could also have maybe brought back Spore and tried to extend a little further, but ultimately I decided that, okay, you know, this is probably fine. I have Soul Charge to crack back with if I need to. And then we see our opponent is on spellbooks, and I kind of, you know, I groan a little bit because Stardust Spark is not particularly strong in spellbooks. And, you know, Spellbooks is another deck, just like Mermails, came out in that year with Abyss Rising. I guess Redo was the first wave of Spellbooks, but Abyss Rising was when Spellbooks really became a little more competent. I think that's when they got Fate. I think that's when they got Tower. Master, I want to say, was Cosmo Blazer, but definitely Spellbooks came out all around that same time. Very cool deck. Here our opponent is going to go ahead and summon out a High Priestess. And he is going to try and High Priestess to destroy our Power Tool Dragon. We're going to go ahead and Stardust Spark that to keep it alive. And then, big surprise, he's going to use Power to pump up Priestess and run over Stardust Spark, getting another search. Seems pretty good, I have to say. So he'll get Secrets to hand. He has 3 spellbooks in Graveyard, so that is a particularly live Fate. And then he's going to set what we can only assume is a Fate, and as well activate a Grand Spellbook Tower. Grand Spellbook Tower is a very good card. Now here we've drawn Spell Striker, which is actually a fantastic draw. That's really going to help us extend a lot further. And then what also is great is our opponent is going to go ahead and Fate to clear Power Tool Dragon, so now we don't have to worry about our combos being interrupted. So we're going to start off, we're going to normal summon the Dandelion, Then we are going to banish SSN to special summon Spell Striker. Spell Striker, really, he's a level 3 Earth that you can special summon, so really good extender. It also comes up a lot. You can make Power Tool Dragon with a Spell Striker and a Spore that you banish Lone Fire for. So if you miss on Power Tool Dragon, you can just make a second Power Tool Dragon like that. That comes up a little bit, I've seen so far. So here we are going to go ahead and use Melee of the Trees. We will get our 2 tokens and a Lone Fire Blossom up. Detaching Dandelion from an Xyz always feels so strong. Here we are going to Lone Fire, tributing one of the tokens to get a Gigaplant. And then we are going to make Photon Strike Bouncer. This is a fantastic card that is going to be able to negate his monster effects. And I know he's going to want to be able to put a blue boy on the field. And this is just going to shut that down. Then we are going to go ahead and use Spore. And just like I said, we are going to make that level 7 Xyz. And now we are going to go ahead and reveal 3. If we get a DDR, we can get Lone Fire back, or even just get the Power Tool Dragon back. But you already know, folks, I am hoping to hit that Mark of the Rose so we can win the game this turn. And indeed we do. So we are going to steal the High Priestess, and that is going to be just over 8,000 points of damage. It's going to be 8,700. And once again, our opponent is going to admit defeat, and he is going to leave. We do not get a match. I am very sad. You know, the GIGAVISE folks, if you run into me, you know, on the hat duel requests on Dueling Book, you know, it's not scary. Just side in Max C, and then I really have trouble. I'm still working on a solution for that, but I guess these people didn't feel that way. So we'll have one more match here, or game rather. This is time our opponent is going to be on the Dragon Ruler Lightsworn deck. This deck is a lot of fun to play. I think it's really good. I think it's really cool. Shout out our opponent for playing it. Here we are going to go ahead and Rhoda for Junk Forward. And so now we have Junk Forward and Spell Striker. We're also going to upstart, and we get a perfect draw with Supervise. So that is really fantastic. Here we are going to special summon the Junk Forward, and then banish Rhoda to summon Spell Striker. And then overlay these for Melee of the Trees. We're going to activate Melee, sending Dandelion here. That's going to get us 2 tokens, one of which will be perfect food for Super Solar Nutrient. So we'll get Lone Fire Blossom summoned out. Here, Lone Fire Blossom, we're going to tribute itself. And then on the second time, I believe, yes, we're also going to tribute itself. We'll get Gigaplant out. We are going to go ahead and give Gigaplant the Supervise. And here, folks, I realized that I did not have Mistworm in my extra deck. I really wanted to play a Mistworm here. So I make the Nettles, and then I check my extra, and I realize that I do not have Mistworm. So we're going to have to call a little bit of an audible. And I'm going to make Stardust Spark. And then Supervise is going to activate summoning back Gigaplant. We'll normal summon our Gigaplant, because look, we did all of this without a normal summon. Spell Striker and Junk Forward both summon themselves. How good is that? So we'll bring back the Lone Fire Blossom, tribute itself to get a Copy Plant, and then we are going to go ahead and make a Power Tool Dragon with the token. So still a strong field. We do hit the Mark of the Rose, which is perfectly good to combo with our DDR. Unfortunate that we needed to use Copy Plant there, so we don't have Spore in the mix, but we will get there for sure. We attack once, and I'm relieved to see it's an Eclipse Wyvern, and that tells me that, well, the back row probably isn't very real, but now we do have to worry about getting through Lightsworns before they get to their JD. This Lightsworn deck is really fast. I played it myself a little bit. I remember I was trying to put it together very quickly, and I just couldn't find a Judgment Dragon, and the only person who had a Judgment Dragon for locals, for trade at locals, it was like the original print secret rare Judgment Dragon, because he played back in the day, and he said, oh, I'll trade it to you, but here's the thing, I did have to sign the back. Back in the day, theft was so rampant. If you had JDs or if you had dads, it was really common practice that you would sign the back of your card, so that way, you know, if someone stole it, and you could say, well, hey, look, like, that's my signature, you stole my card. And it's crazy that theft was you know, such an ongoing part of the Yu-Gi-Oh community. I've always, was super vigilant. But one time, folks, I did make a mistake, and this was at a 2018 Philadelphia Regionals. I had been out of the game for a while, but I had recently decided to get back in. I was playing Trickstar. I had brought a couple friends with me that didn't really play Yu-Gi-Oh!, so they were just kind of hanging out with me at the Philly Convention Center. And one of them wanted to... they wanted to leave, and so I was just really distracted. I felt bad that I had dragged people along with me, and I was a little distracted, and I managed to get my trade binder stolen, and I was really upset about that. I didn't have anything super valuable in it, but what I did have was this custom full art Madolche Messengelato that someone had made me in like a Reddit Secret Santa, and it was a one-of-a-kind thing. I didn't even know who the artist was. Like, it was all like an anonymous gift, and it was so cool to get. And that did get stolen in my binder, so I was really sad to lose that. And then I was on the bubble, and I actually had a chance to get my invite, but then I lost my last round, and I was so sad about losing the round. I left without my mat, and it wasn't just any mat. This was the Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosac mat that they gave out for getting top 8 at regionals in Dragon Ruler format. So I was distraught to lose that. It was really unfortunate. That was, I think that's one of the prettiest mats Konami has ever put out. And I don't know what they go for on resale, but I'm sure it is more than I want to pay for it. So I lost my mat, and that one wasn't really, it got stolen. That one was more like, I just left it there. But the trade binder, it did. I just kind of it was on the table, and I turned my head, and then it was gone. So, what are you going to do? Here, our opponent is going to go ahead and be able to clear our board very nicely with Exiton. They're just going to Foolish Burial to get a wolf. And they're going to Exiton. We'll chain start a Spark to protect it at least. But of course, he can just use Exiton again on a new chain. Here, the Eclipse Wyvern is going to activate, so he'll banish a Light Ray Diablos as well. And then he's going to go ahead and summon out Tidal. So definitely clapping back very hard here. That's going to get him to Light Ray Diablos as well as JD. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, JD is live here, folks. But I am taking 0 damage because our opponent did use Exiton. So he's just going to go ahead and summon Light Ray Diablos, and then summon out a Dracosac, get 2 tokens, and pass it back to us. And then here, pretty simple, we draw into Soul Charge, which is maybe the most powerful card in the format. So just take a moment, pause the video, see if you can find the best line. This is our opponent's field. He does have another Rainbow Karibo to worry about, as well as one in the grave. And this is what our graveyard looks like. Can you find a line to win the game? If you can't find a line to win the game, we have Soul Charge. Can you build a very strong board that is going to be safe into Judgment Dragon and Dracosac and everything? So let me know. Take a moment what you can come up with. I'm not going to tell you what the best way to do it is, and we'll give you a few more seconds, and then let me show you what I did to get out of this situation. So I am going to go right to main phase 1. I'm going to use Mark of the Rose to take Mecha Phantom Beast Dracosac. I'll activate its effect to get 2 Dracosac tokens, and then I'm going to use DDR, discarding the Soul Charge, always feels bad, to summon out Gigaplant. I'll normal summon the Gigaplant, bring out Lone Fire Blossom. I am going to Lone Fire Blossom for Spore, and then I am going to Synchro for a 7 with those Dracosac tokens to make a Black Rose Dragon. Use Black Rose Dragon's second effect to switch one of the tokens into attack position, and then now we'll just have Dracosac run over Exiton for 700, and Gigaplant run over the token. He does fire the Rainbow Karibo there, so that is going to prevent the Gigaplant from attacking, but we can just run over it with Black Rose Dragon. So now I am all set for games 2 and 3. I'm ready to side, and wouldn't you know it, our opponent leaves. So this was, I think this was like a fun introduction to hat format. I've been playing it a lot more. I never really liked hat historically. I've never been the biggest fan of it. Actually, the first time I ever stopped playing Yu-Gi-Oh! was during hat format. I remember Madolches came out with Angeli. I was very excited that Madolches were going to be good. So I was playing a lot of Madolches, but for whatever reason, I wasn't able to attend the ARG in DC, and I wasn't able to get to any regionals, and I still didn't have my invite. So, you know, I wasn't going to Nats. I didn't have an invite, and Madolches, I was a little disappointed that they ended up not being. I mean, they were good, they were fine, but they're not the best deck. And I really wanted Madolches to be the best deck, and so I was just saying, all right, you know what, Hat, this isn't it. I'm gonna stop playing until the next ban list comes out, and then I'm going to pick the game back up. So Hat did knock me out of Yu-Gi-Oh for a couple months, but then I came right back. Burning Abyss cards were announced. No one was 100% sure how good they would be, but I thought they would be great. I was testing them really well. I remember I picked up my Dantes for like $10 a piece at the sneak peek. It was a good time. And the rest of that format, well, you know, I think honestly, like that Duelist Alliance format could really come back. I think especially Duelist Alliance after the October ban list, but before new challengers comes out. That wasn't a format for very long, but that is one of the best formats for Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think that's something that could be worth another look in the future. Spoiler alert, GIGAVISE is really good, that format. You have glow up bulb, folks. So anyways, this has been Dionysus, aka Young Puds, giving you guys a little taste of GIGAVISE in hat format. Let me know if you liked this format. Let me know if you like hat. If you want to see more hat duels, I'd be happy to try and post them, see if we can actually get some full matches this time. If not, we'll be back tomorrow with your regularly scheduled Shameless Hypebeast GIGAVISE Edison content. See you guys tomorrow.